Hello everyone, Happy New Year. I am here to show you another recipe that is a tradition in our home for the holidays. This is something that my mother would make for us growing up. She would sometimes do it for Thanksgiving along with a turkey. Sometimes it was for Christmas with tamales. But this year I decided to go ahead and make it for New Year's Day. What you'll need is very simple, just a few ingredients. It's not very complicated at all. You will need a whole chicken, whole roaster chicken, and the size just depends on how what you're going to serve your family. And I got a really nice, good size. I didn't even look to see how many pounds it was, but I'll check and let you know. And then I've got a pound of ground beef, and this is a ground sirloin. You can use a ground chuck. You can use whatever ground beef you like to use. I've never used ground turkey. My mom's never used ground turkey, but if you want to try it with some ground turkey, you certainly could. You'll need a couple of potatoes, and I've got here some russet potatoes, and basically I'm just going to peel and cube them. You could use golden potatoes or whatever, little red potatoes if you want. It's your choice, but really it's traditionally made with just some plain russet potatoes. I'm also going to need some raisins. So this is what I'm going to use. So this is called Pollo con Picadillo y Pasas. So that is chicken with a ground beef, potato, and raisins. And of course I'll need some salt and pepper just to season it, and you'll season it to taste. So the first thing I need to do is I need to peel my potatoes and cube them so that then I can get ready to brown my ground beef. And I'll be back. Okay, so I've been chopping up my potatoes. Got a little bit more to go. It's about this size, little cubes. You can cut them in any size you want as long as they're all sort of basically about the same size, so they cook uniformly. And you're going to want to put these in a bowl of water. Just rinse them off a couple of times and then leave them in water. Let them sit in water. Get some of that starch to come out of them, so that while you're getting your ground beef going, your potatoes are not turning brown on you, and just make sure you rinse them off. So I'll be back. All right, I've got a skillet here on the stove or pan, and I've got about a quarter cup of cold water in there, and I'm going to put my ground beef in that cold water before it starts to get warm. And you could just do this before you actually turn on the skillet, so that everything's cold, because, oops, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. You're going to put the ground beef in cold water so that the water helps break down the ground beef, and you get like a finer little bits of beef. So this is what I like to do, is put it in cold water, and then, you know, let it start heating up. But you got to keep moving it around, breaking it up as you go. And you might have to add a little bit more water to help it break up even more, but just add a little bit at a time. Don't add too much of it. So let me get this going and get it to brown, and I'll be back. All right, here's my ground beef, and I did add another quarter cup of water to break it up even more, and it's starting to brown. I did add some salt and pepper to taste. You could add some chopped onions in this if you wanted to. You could saute the onions a little bit first and then add them to your ground beef. Or what I did is I used some, sorry, all that steam, my goodness. I used onion powder. There we go. You could use onion powder or some garlic powder. Don't use the salt ones, because you've already added salt and you don't want to add more salt to it. Okay, so this is what my beef is looking like. At this point, I've got my potatoes in water. I'm going to drain off the water, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the potatoes into my beef. All right, well, my beef looks very nice and browned. It looks kind of, I guess, kind of grayish in the camera, but I'm looking at it in real life, it looks browned. I guess because of the lighting in here. Anyway, just make sure it's ground and fully cooked to your liking. Now I'm going to add some, well, not necessarily fully cooked because you're going to cook it a little bit longer, but close to cooked. Now I'm going to add my potatoes in there. and just to stir them in. And then you're going to cover this and put it on a low to medium kind of heat. You're going to keep your eye on it. You're going to allow the bit of water that's in there to steam up those potatoes. And you're going to want the potatoes to be almost cooked. You don't want to get them mushy, so you don't want to be stirring it around too much because obviously there's still some starch in them. I didn't get all the starch out by rinsing them out. So some of it still remains. So you don't want to mix it around too much and get this all mushy and potatoes all too soft. You want them to have a little bit of a bite to them. So you'll just check it, and if you got to give a little bit of a push to cut into your potato with your fork or your spoon that you're cooking with, or your a little knife, then it's at a point where it's perfect, or we're going to want it. And because it'll continue cooking in the oven. And I'll be back when his potatoes are about at the point that I like them. Alright, so here's my ground beef with my, oops, sorry about the steam, the potatoes, and I just wanted to show you that that's how it just breaks into it. I have to push a little hard into it to break it, but I want that. So that's basically, it's basically done, and that took, let me see, about 8-9 minutes. So in addition to maybe 5 minutes of the ground beef, the ground beef didn't take very long to brown because I broke it up in the cold water, and when you break it up, it obviously cooks a lot faster. And as you can see, you saw the texture, I showed that to you. So now to that I want to add a 1/4 cup of raisins. I kind of want to add more than that, and I'm just going to gently kind of fold them into the my picadillo, which is my ground beef and potatoes. Woohoo! If you don't want to use the raisins, you can leave them out. You could also do this with let me think, my mind is frozen for a minute. Okay, yes, you can also use craisins instead of raisins, or dried cranberries. And another a meat that you could use ground pork, and maybe try some prunes, just pitted prunes, and cut them up into little pieces and add them in there. That'll add a nice sweet combination with the pork, and it'll taste delicious inside the chicken. So I think I'm going to add a little bit more raisins because I love raisins, and the raisins will get nice and plump. So I'm going to mix this up, and then we're going to stuff our chicken. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stuff the chicken. So I've gone ahead and moved the camera so that you can see that a little bit better. Sorry about my hand there. I'll just try to stabilize it because it's shaking a little bit. Hold on, let me fix something real quick. There. Okay. Got my picadillo with raisins, my ground beef and potatoes with raisins. Another thing, another variation you could do, if you don't want to use potatoes, if you're cutting down on the starch, you just don't want to have any potatoes, you could use carrots. And raisins and carrots actually pair off really well together, so you could do the raisins in there. If you want to completely change it, do carrots, maybe some corn in there, so you have some nice little veggies and stuff your chicken. But I'm going to tell you, this is a combination that tastes really good together, and once it's in the chicken, it flavors very well. Everything pairs very well together, so you might want to try this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this stuffing that I've made, a picadillo. I'm going to stick it in there. Picadillo does not mean stuffing, but I'm calling it a stuffing because we're stuffing it into our chicken. El relleno is a stuffing. So I'm going to stuff that in there and push it in. Keep pushing it in until it's very full in there. Now I'm going to use all of this because I've been using this spoon, which I'm dipping into the chicken and maybe back and forth. So I need to make sure that I use all of this when I'm cooking. Oh, and by the way, I've got my oven preheating, and I've got it at 390. You could have it at 400, 425, but I don't like to put my oven that high, so I go 390, and I'm just gonna let this cook, roast in my oven, for about 45 minutes, 15 minutes or so, just so my chicken is well cooked. And of course I'm going to cut into the thigh bone and make sure everything comes out clear. Okay, this is pretty much stuffed in there. So the rest of this I'm just going to kind of place it around on the sides and on the bottom of the chicken. You could actually stuff some into this little neck cavity here. My hand here. And I'm going to cover this with foil. But before I do, I want to season the outside of my chicken. Okay, got all that done. I melted about a tablespoon of butter. You could just get a little pat of butter and rub it on the chicken, but I went ahead and I melted it. And I'm just going to pour this on top, on the thighs. Okay, and I want to season it, so I'm going to use salt and pepper. And I don't like to use too much, so that's it for me. And that was maybe half a teaspoon of salt at the most. A pinch of salt, but it was a nice generous pinch. Okay, so now some pepper. And of course you'll do that to taste. I want to cover it really nicely with pepper. And I'm going to go ahead and use some onion powder, which I used in the meat. I'm going to go ahead and use that as well. Lots of fresh cracked pepper, finely cracked. It was kind of hard to turn because I have it at its tightest sections, I just have it really tight so it'll give me a nice fine grind. Okay, so I've now added some onion powder on top of that. I'm going to cover it. My oven still needs a little bit more to be at the right temperature at 380, which is what I'm going to have it at. So now I'm just going to cover it, and you can cover the whole pan, but I'm going to push this inside like that. Now I'm going to put it in the oven, like I said, 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so. So it may even take an hour. Because I do have it at a lower temperature. Sorry, I'm with the camera so that you can see what I was doing. So anyway, I'm going to put it in there, time it for 45 minutes, and I'm going to check my chicken, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it so that my chicken can get a little golden on the outside. So that you'll just be checking, excuse me, you'll just check your chicken, make sure it's fully cooked. Once you're at that moment, just leave it in there another 10-15 minutes, you know, so that it is really well cooked and not dry though, but just cooked, and just check it, okay? Just check it, and once this is done, we'll take a look at it and we'll be back. Here we are, an hour and 20 minutes later. My roast chicken with picadillo and pasas, which is ground beef potatoes, and some raisin stuffed inside, is done. Again, I did it at 390 degrees Fahrenheit, and it took about, browning the meat with the potatoes, that took about, let's see, that was about 12-15 minutes. And then baking time for the chicken with the meat inside of it took an hour and 15 or 20 minutes, something like that. That was at 390. So I'm going to suggest that you put your oven at 400 and time it for 45 minutes, check it, and then maybe you'll need to go up to an hour at the most for it to be baked completely. Maybe some of you want to try 425 on your oven and do a shorter time. I think it's best to go probably 400 and just let it slowly bake for an hour, but check it at 45 minutes regardless. Okay, it's gonna be time to cut into this and to taste it. All right, here we go. We're gonna cut into our chicken. chicken breast. Nice piece there. A little bit of the ground beef. Look at this part here. And I'm going to show you the pretty plate. And it smells delicious. The chicken breast looks really nice and juicy. Let's cut into it. The piece here. Well cooked. Yummy. Juicy. It's not dry at all. That was a chicken breast, by the way. You saw me cut. The picadillo with pasas. I love the taste of these plump, juicy raisins. They pick up a lot of the flavor of the meat and the potatoes and the chicken. The combination of both. Absolutely delicious. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I hope you would try it just as I did it. I did give you some suggestions on how you could change this a bit if you don't want to do raisins. But this is an idea. This is a traditional roast chicken that my mother does for the holidays, and I wanted to do it for you and share that recipe with you. So again, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Happy New Year to you. Thank you to those who have already subscribed. Leave a comment below, something nice, and let me know if you want any videos with another different recipe that you'd like me to try for you, or even a craft. See my apron? I did this apron some time ago for my husband. A little pocket. It has a little handkerchief here. Got a little loop here with a handkerchief, and then it's got a little kind of a quilted little rag here to grab hot stuff for barbecuing. So it's got a pocket here, and it's got a pocket right here. So I'm thinking about doing a sewing tutorial on how to make this apron. If you want to see that, give me a thumbs up and put your comment below that you want to see that. As always, enjoy.